ध्वनिर्वर्णापदं वाक्यमित्यास्पदचतुष्टयम् यस्याः सूक्ष्मादिभेदे वाग्देवीं तामुपास्महे।
The Electronic Media Production and Research Center EMPRC of Madhya Pradesh Bhoj Open University presents an audio program on visual impairments. This audio program will be useful to the students of B.Ed Special Education Program. The title of audio program is Educating Parents of Children with Visual Impairments. To deliver the lecture on this topic, we have invited our subject expert, Dr. Nora Griffing Shirley. She is a professor in the program of Special Education at Texas Tech University in Lubbock of Texas in the United States of America. This audio program is recorded, edited, and presented by Amar Bahadur Yadav. Let's listen to the audio program Educating Parents of Children with Visual Impairments.
Hello, dear listeners. I am a professor in the Special Education Program in the Department of Educational Psychology and Leadership of the College of Education at Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas, in the United States of America. In addition, I also coordinate the Orientation and Mobility Specialist Program, and I am the director of the Virginia Murray Sowell Center for Research and Education in Visual Impairment. I have been teaching in a university system for over 20 years. I would like to thank MPBOU Open University for this opportunity to speak to you today about what suggestions you, as a teacher of students with visual impairment, can give to parents of young children with visual impairments to ensure their children are as independent as possible as they become adults. The objective for today's lecture is to provide teachers of students with visual impairments suggestions they can impart to parents of babies and toddlers with visual impairments. The vocabulary for today's lecture is Transdisciplinary Team Model. This is a team model where the child is the primary concern of the team. All team members collaborate with each other. Photophobia. This is a sensitivity to light. Tactile labels. Tactile labels are used to identify objects by students who are blind. The most common is the Braille label, but you can use other materials like a rubber band to place on a doorknob in a long corridor of doors so a person who is blind will know where his room is in a hotel. Trailing. Trailing is a mobility technique where a child with blindness follows a wall or object with the back of his hand or fingertips to maintain a straight line of travel. Landmark. A landmark is any sensory information that is permanent, easily recognizable, and unique, and used by a person who is blind to assist him in knowing where he is in his environment. Clue. A clue is any sensory information that is temporary and easily recognizable by a person who is blind to assist him in knowing where he is in his environment. The final word in our vocabulary list is augmentative and alternative communication devices, known as ACC devices. These devices are used by children who cannot speak. ACC includes body language, gestures, sign language, and facial expressions, and high or low tech devices that require children to use their bodies to activate tools for communication. Some questions that we, as teachers of students with visual impairments, can answer for parents of babies and toddlers with visual impairments are: what do I do now that I have found out my baby is blind? What do we as parents do to make sure our child with visual impairment grows up to be safe, literate, and independent? To answer the first question, I use the following resource: American Foundation for the Blind's Family Connect website, http://www.familyconnect, FAMILYCONNECT. When parents first hear their child is blind, they may be shocked, experience grief and anger, maybe even rage. They may ask, why our baby or us? Their dream of a healthy, normal baby has been shattered. A whole multitude of emotions may surface with this diagnosis of blindness. Parents may be concerned how this diagnosis will affect their family and their child with blindness future. They may be uncertain how to tell their family and friends about their child's diagnosis. Likewise, family and friends may not be sure how to interact with the child who is blind, as they may never have been around a child with blindness. To assist parents with these issues, a teacher of students with visual impairments can advise parents to give the facts about their child's eye condition to others and let people know what they want from them. Other strategies you, as a teacher, can suggest to parents are: encourage parents to have a positive attitude, as people will follow the parent's lead on how to interact with their child. Have parents and others concentrate on the strengths of the child. What can the child do, not what the child cannot see or cannot do. Help parents recognize that they are in a transition phase. Over time, the situation will change. If there are other children in the family, encourage parents to inform them about what is going on with their sister or brother who is blind. Parents should not expect their other children to always take care of the child with blindness. However, they can and should expect the siblings to assist the child who is blind to learn how to accomplish daily living skills. These daily living skills include brushing teeth, bathing, doing household chores, and playing with others. Encourage parents to spend alone time with their children who are not blind. This will prevent feelings of jealousy of the normal siblings' part. Help parents recognize that family, especially grandparents and friends, may experience grief for the normal, typical baby who was supposed to be born, but was not. Not a baby with blindness. Parents may receive advice and comments from them that may not be helpful or wanted. If parents just want a friend or a family member to listen to them, then they should tell the friend or family member they do not want advice, but just someone to listen to them. One of the areas parents may be concerned about is adapting their home for their baby who is blind. Factors to keep in mind when baby-proofing a home include lighting, glare, color, contrast, clutter, use of touch, organization, and safety. Some babies may have eye conditions where they see better in natural light, while others have photophobia. Remember from our vocabulary list, photophobia is an extreme sensitivity to light. In these cases of photophobia, lighting in the home needs to be controlled. For example, to minimize light, shutters or curtains can be used. To reduce glare, the lighting on shiny surfaces such as kitchen counters and bathroom sinks needs to be adjusted for a child's maximum visual functioning. Certain colors like red or yellow may be easier for a child with a visual impairment to see than others like pastel colors. If this is the case, then have the child's belongings be available in this color, like using a red brush to comb the child's hair. Whenever possible, create a good contrast between surfaces for babies with visual impairments. For example, use a red pillow on the child's white bed sheets for the child to easily visually locate. For example, use a red pillow on the child's white bed sheets for the child to easily locate the pillow visually. If colors are not distinguishable for the child because of his eye condition, think of using light-dark contrast, such as black and white. Clutter, whether visual or tactual, can present another problem for babies with visual impairment. For example, placing too many objects on a shelf in a child's bedroom may make it difficult for him to differentiate between his toys. Let the child determine how many toys to put on his bedroom shelf by observing his visual scanning behavior and eye-hand coordinator. Let the child determine how many toys to put on his bedroom shelf by observing his visual scanning behavior and his eye-hand coordination as he reaches for the toys on the shelf. Provision of tactual labels may assist children with visual impairments to engage in more independence when completing self-help skills, such as toothbrushing or bathing. By placing a rubber band around the child with blindness toothbrush to distinguish it from the other family members' toothbrushes can assist the child when locating her own toothbrush, and can help the child realize that independent tooth brushing is an expectation of her parents, of her, and that they would like her to accomplish this task independently in the future. Organization and safety are essential concepts when making a home more accessible for babies with blindness. Some simple tips are: 1. Child-proof cabinets by moving poisonous cleaners and other items to lock cabinets out of the child's reach. 2. If using rugs, tape the edges of the rugs down so the child with blindness does not trip over them. 3. Doors to rooms should always be closed, not left partially open. And this includes kitchen cabinets as well. 4. Try to pick up items off the floor that do not need to be there, like toys, books, newspapers. 5. Reinforce trailing and the use of clues and landmarks to the child with blindness when traveling within the home. 6. Provide a fenced-in outdoor play area for the child with blindness. When providing suggestions to parents, teachers of students with visual impairments should keep in mind the following points. 1. When visiting a parent's home, realize you are a guest who has been invited into their home. State very clearly that these parents know their child better than anyone else, including you as the teacher. Tell them they are their child's first teachers. 2. Model appropriate interventions for parents so they can imitate these interventions, especially showing appropriate ways to interact with a child with blindness during diapering, bathing, and feeding. Maybe some of the interventions you may need to demonstrate to parents. 3. A family-centered approach that emphasizes placing the child first is the preferred service delivery model. Other features of an effective service delivery model are the provision of accurate information and support to parents, coordinating the team of professionals working with the child, providing specific educational materials used by children who are blind, and using a transdisciplinary team approach. 4. Advocating for instruction to occur in a natural environment like a child's home, playgroup, or daycare center. 5. Making suggestions on how to structure a home environment to ensure total accessibility to a child with visual impairments. Now, let's look at how we can assist parents with the second question. What do we do to make sure our child with visual impairment grows up to be safe, literate, and independent? Is the question the parents have. To help answer this question, I use the Communication and Emergency Literacy module authored by Drs. Wendy Sapp and Deborah Hatton from the Early Intervention Training Center for Infants and Toddlers with Visual Impairments of the FPG Child Development Institute of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, published in 2005. Children with sight engage in incidental literacy activities by watching their parents read bills, books, the newspaper, street signs, and directions on how to put a piece of equipment together, and then they imitate the reading actions or literacy actions of their parents. However, children with visual impairments are not aware of these incidental literacy activities as they cannot see when their parents are reading. Therefore, they may be delayed in this area. To assist these children with becoming literate, parents, family, and teachers of students with visual impairments can expose them to literacy-related items, books, and activities. Let me digress a minute to mention that if the parents of a child with blindness are illiterate, then it would be a good idea for you to suggest to the parents to attend adult literacy classes. As they are learning to read, they can be instructing their children with blindness at the same time. Many print books also have audio versions that everyone can listen to when the print book is being read silently by the parents. For literate parents, they can learn Braille to assist their children. You, as a teacher, can provide information on correspondence courses in Braille or where they can enroll in local Braille courses provided by agencies or schools for the blind near their homes. Children with visual impairments may have problems with concept and motor development and understanding cause and effect, which can affect their literacy acquisition. Strategies parents and teachers of students with visual impairments can use to facilitate the development of conceptual knowledge and typical motor development are: 1. Parents should encourage children to move as much as possible by adapting their environment for safe movement. 2. Daily living skills like diaper changing, bathing, and feeding are perfect times for the parents to be teaching their child about her body parts and spatial concepts. Parents can say to the child, "Your milk is in the bottle. You are on the bed while I'm changing your diaper. The diaper is going on your bottom." 3. Using shoulder slings to carry infants so they can experience adults' movement while positioned comfortably and appropriately. 4. Giving infants opportunities to experience a variety of positions: laying on their stomach, laying on their side, laying on their back, sitting up, standing with help. 5. Enjoying gentle roughhousing or wrestling. 6. Creating obstacle courses for older infants. 7. Providing auditory or tactile cues to motivate infants with visual impairments to raise their head. For example, take a little rattle and shake it above the child's head so that he will look and reach for the rattle. If the child is totally blind, he will not be able to look for the rattle, but he can reach for it. 8. Providing infants with large objects to hold with both hands, like a pot that you cook in. 9. Encouraging the baby to lay on his stomach and push up will aid fine motor skills, which is important for writing later on when the child is in school. 10. Providing opportunities for children to develop finger and hand strength, wrist rotation, and isolating the index finger through activities such as making chapati dough. 11. Reinforcing use of augmentative and alternative communication, known as ACC devices, used by children who cannot speak. As mentioned earlier, AAC devices include body language, gestures, sign language, and facial expressions, as well as high or low-tech devices that require children to use their bodies to activate tools for communication. For example, a child with cerebral palsy may use a switch in order to activate a communication board. 12. If the child has additional disabilities, like an orthopedic problem, then a parent may want to use a clothespin clipped to the top of the page of a book to help the child grip the clothespin to turn the page with ease. This is a very low-tech solution to the child's inability to grasp a page with his fingers. 13. Parents also need to give reading and writing materials to their children in an appropriate medium. This means access to a braille writer for scribbling on for a totally blind child, and a large print book for a low vision child. Other interventions to promote emergent literacy also include play, literacy routines, responsive environments, shared storybook reading, storytelling, and dialogue and conversation. When playing, provide opportunities for the child to act out stories, dress up, engage in cooperative play with others, whole body play, and using sensory stimulating toys that make sounds and move. Many children who are blind have problems with learning to play with other children. So the teacher or parent needs to involve the child in shared play. This action can lead to cooperative play, like in a sandbox with other children. Whole body play is when the child is engaged in gross motor activity where her whole body is being used. Pointing to different body parts while singing the names of the parts is a good example. For example, we sing head and shoulders, knees and toes, head and shoulders, knees and toes, as the child is pointing to his head, his shoulders, knees, and toes. Routine-based literacy is the use of literacy activities during daily living activities. For example, as a parent is giving his child a bath, the father describes what is occurring during the bath routine. He says to the child, "Now I am pouring water over your body. I'm putting shampoo in your hair, on your head." After the bath, the father can read books to the child about bathing and the routine. A print-rich environment is what we strive for children. To accomplish this, literacy props need to be furnished by parents and/or teachers of students with visual impairments. Literacy props are pens, crayons, paper, raised dots, braille, screens to make raised dots, slate and stylus, and a braille writer. Demonstrating the usage of these tools and devices is a must. Even if the child is totally blind, he still needs to learn how to write his name in the future, so the manipulation of a pen or pencil is essential. Shared reading or diagnostic reading between parents or teachers and their child or students with visual impairments can facilitate language development. To maximize the diagnostic reading experience, a peer, P-E-E-R, approach can be used. The peer approach can be summarized as having the parent prompt her child to comment on the book they have just read together. Prompt, we're looking at the P, the first letter. Then have the parent evaluate her child's reply by responding to it. The E on evaluate gives us the PE, followed by having the parent expand her child's response by paraphrasing and elaborating on it. The E of expand gives us the PEE, and finally have the parent repeat the expansion through a second prompt. The R on repeat gives us the PEER approach, the peer approach. Different types of prompting exist. For example, parents can have their child fill in a blank, recall an event in the story they have just read, ask where, when, what questions, or have the child relate the just read story to her own experiences. An example of a prompt would be having a mother asking her son Paul to tell when he saw a white tiger on his last visit to the zoo after reading a story about a tiger. It is important for young children with visual impairments to preview storybooks prior to reading them. They should be encouraged to tell about pictures they see and words they recognize. Please keep in mind that children with visual impairments usually have some vision. Very few are totally blind. After reading a storybook, parents can start sounding out words with their child by starting with rhyming words. During this time, children should also be reciting rhymes, singing rhyming songs, especially those that utilize full body movements. For example, you may sing, "Row, row, row your boat safely down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. The child is physically moving in a rowing action while singing the song with the parent. Another effective strategy to foster literacy is storytelling. Various steps in storytelling include: number 1, the parent or caregiver or teacher as the storyteller. In this step, the adult tells a story. For example, a parent may say, "When I was walking home from work, I saw a puppy. The puppy was drinking milk from his mother. When he did not get enough milk, he started barking for more milk." The second step, the caregiver, parent, or teacher as a facilitator. Here, the adult asks the child with a visual impairment, "Has anything like that happened to you?" The child says, "Daddy, I once saw a puppy." 3. Caregiver, parent, or teacher as a listener. With this step, the child tells a story to the adult. The child states, "The puppy was playing with a ball, Daddy." 4. The caregiver, parent, or teacher as a facilitator using prompts. In this situation, the adult restates the story told to him by the child with a visual impairment to the child. The parent says, "Paul, you saw a puppy and he was playing with a ball." 5. The facilitator, parent, or teacher of students with visual impairments as a listener, asking the child with blindness to tell him more about the story. This is where the child now builds a narrative, expanding more on her story. The parent or teacher says, "Paul, tell me more about the puppy playing with the ball." Paul then says, "Daddy, the puppy was happy playing with the ball. He started barking at the ball." Finally, to facilitate further narrative development, parents and teachers of students with visual impairments can use descriptive language to initiate dialogue. Children with blindness whose parents utilize this approach tend to have a larger vocabulary when they start approaching reading in school. They can also encourage children to tell stories after being given prompts, like the teacher giving a teddy bear to a child and saying, "Now tell me a story about the teddy bear." Of course, the parent could give the child a teddy bear as well. But the point is, we want children to give spontaneous narrative stories to us. Another opportunity is to ask a child to engage in show and tell. This is where a child chooses his or her object and tells you about it, just describes the object that he or she has chosen to show you, thus called show and tell. All of the intervention strategies discussed during this lecture can assist parents of children with visual impairments to raise safe, independent, and literate children. The skills are the foundation for successful lives as adults with visual impairments. In conclusion, the important points to remember from today's lecture are: when parents first hear a diagnosis of their baby being blind, then they may experience many emotions, ranging from guilt, anger, to rage. However, a teacher of children with visual impairments can offer suggestions and resources to assess these parents to cope in a healthy manner. Parents can adapt their homes to facilitate independent movement of their child with visual impairments, which is needed for emergent literacy. Organization and safety are crucial for the development of a child with visual impairment to reach her full potential. Parents, family members, and teachers of students with visual impairments can engage in many activities to facilitate the literacy of children with visual impairments. If parents of a child with blindness are illiterate, They can enroll in adult literacy courses so they can start emergent literacy activities with their child with visual impairments as they are learning to read. This shared reading experience can be enjoyable and fulfilling for all parties involved. Literate parents can learn Braille to share with their children. I hope you have gained some knowledge today that you can use in your work with young children who are visually impaired and their parents. Thank you for listening.
We were listening to the audio program Educating Parents of Children with Visual Impairment. The subject expert and speaker was Dr. Nora Griffin Shirley. Announcer was Bharat Kumar Kabirpanthi. This audio program was recorded, edited and presented by Amar Bahadur Yadav. This audio program was the production of the Electronic Media Production and Research Center, Emprc of Madhya Pradesh, Bhoj Open University.